and gentlemen, the Outstanding Academic Papers by Students Certificate Awarding Ceremony is about to begin. Please take your seats. Welcome to the Outstanding Academic Paper by Students Certificate Awarding Ceremony. I am Helen Lee from the Library of City University of Hong Kong. Since the launch of the OAPS project, we have gained strong support and attracted increased participation of our academic departments. This year, we have collected 32 outstanding papers. Before we begin, the Consul General of Chile in Hong Kong SAR and Macau SAR, Mr. Mario Atasa, sent his apology for being not able to come today due to urgent business. He would like to congratulate all awardees for their achievements and recognition today, and wish the OAPS project every success in making steady strides towards internationalization by continuing to promote academic achievements and collaborative learning through innovation and multicultural exchange. At this moment, we are very pleased to have Professor Gary Fang, our Associate Provost, to extend a warm welcome to you.
Good evening, everyone. Professor Connor, Dr. Wittersen, and Professor Jin, and honorable guests, faculty members, students, and their families and friends. On behalf of City University of Hong Kong, I would like to welcome you on the OAPS Certificate Awarding Ceremony. As you know, over the past 7 years, OAPS project has received more and more encouraging responses from our academic departments in university. It has also developed partnership with a number of universities in different parts of the world, such as USA, mainland China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and Thailand. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of those students and your family members about your success in writing these excellent papers. The achievement of our OAPS would not be possible without the gracious support of our partner institutions, dedication of faculty members, and unfailing support from academic departments. Therefore, I would also like to take this chance to express my sincere gratitude to our guests from University of Pennsylvania and Waseda University, who came a long way to join us today. And also, my thanks also goes to all department heads and the teaching staff here at the CTU for making this project a great success. As also you know, our university has started the DEC Discovery Enriched Curriculum. I think through this new curriculum, I think our students have more chance to make more discovery and innovations and creativity. So therefore, you may have more chance to have the good, outstanding academic papers. Hopefully, in the end of the next year or year after, we can have more and more participation from all departments in CTU. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a joyful evening.
Thank you very much, Professor Fang. Now, we would like to invite Professor Masaru Kono, Professor of Graduate School of Political Science of Waseda University, to give congratulatory remarks. Professor Kono, please.
My name is Masaru Kono, and I come from Waseda University, which is part of this OAPS network. Thank you for inviting me for this very memorable occasion, and congratulations to everybody who wrote an excellent paper, who did an excellent project. I'm going to give a little bit of speech, congratulatory speech, not too long, hopefully. I was going to talk about my own experiences of being academic, actually. When I was a high school student, I read novels and sort of literary critics. And when I became a university student, I became interested in international politics. And then I went on to a master's program at Yale, and I studied international relations. I thought that what I learned in the universities in Tokyo would help me understand some of the materials in English. And I realized that all the things that I learned in Japan wasn't useful or helpful at all at Yale, because everything I learned at Yale was so new to me. And then, so I totally changed my mind. I gave up my international relations career, and I decided to do a political economy. And then I continued on to study a PhD program at Stanford. So I thought, okay, I'll do international relations one more time. And then I started to write my proposal. I'm going to write the dissertations in U.S.-Japan relations. And then, of course, during my PhD, 3 years of PhD exploration, I realized that my skills was not good enough, so I decided to write a dissertation on Japanese politics. So, what I'm saying is that there are things go sometimes right, sometimes wrong, sometimes right and left and everywhere. But I ended up okay, right? I teach at a very established university, and any lesson that should be learned from this experience, my personal experience, is the following two things. One is that you just have to be interested in what you're doing, whatever the project that you're doing, whatever you're writing, or whatever you're doing, your work. Career, but at the same time, you also have to know where you're located in the society. What is your role? What is the position that you're in the society? And then kind of you have to adjust, right? I was realizing that my interest was in U.S.-Japan relations, but maybe my skills were not good enough at the moment to engage in a full scholarship in that subject. So I adjusted and changed. But later I went back. I think that you graduating from this wonderful university will have a wonderful career, and you meet a lot of innovative opportunities, but you just have to take in so many things as you go along, and you just have to keep these two things in mind. One, you cannot do anything that you're not interested in, but you also have to sometimes adjust to the needs of the society, and you have to locate yourself where you are. And that is my a little bit of lecture-y congratulatory speech, but I hope that you'll have enjoyable time today and a nice life in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kono. In the coming session, Ms. Bethany White, our reference librarian, will give you a brief review of the progress and development of OAPS this year. Bethany, please.
Thank you, Helen, and welcome to our event this evening. I'll give you a short progress and development of OAPS briefing. So at CityU, around November of each year, the library liaises with academic departments to collect the exceptional papers. Each academic department has their own procedure to select their students' outstanding papers. So the library would also like to congratulate those students whose papers were selected. This year, we collected 32 papers. I need the mic. Okay, we collected 32 papers from 11 departments. We are delighted to have the Department of Systems Engineering and Engineering Management join OAPS this year. So with the support from departments, there has been a steady growth of the collection of papers since 2006. We have a total of 241 OAPS papers available in the CityU Institutional Repository. The papers can also be accessed from the library catalog and a number of widely used search tools for scholarly literature, such as Google Scholar, WorldCat, and DSpace. The print versions of the OAPS papers are available in our semi-closed collection. The usage of OAPS papers is 46 per month per paper. The usage of CityU theses and final year projects is 28 per month per item, so a bit lower than that of the OAPS papers. The usage of UMI e-theses, which are written by postgraduate students, is only 0.02 per month per thesis. So as we can see, the OAPS papers are popular and well used. So it's easy to find the papers via Google Scholar and for others to make use of them. Works that cite the OAPS papers include journal articles, conference proceedings papers, theses, and book chapters. Some of these papers are indexed in international databases like Science Direct, Springer Link, EBSCOhost, and IEEE Explore. So here's an example. This paper was authored by a student from the Department of Physics and Materials Science and was cited by a journal article and then indexed in the database Academic Search Premier. This paper was authored by a student from the Department of Computer Science and was cited by a paper written by scholars in Ireland in 2011. And this paper was written by a student from the Department of Applied Social Sciences and was cited in a book published in Mexico. So the book is primarily in Spanish. So you can see we have some international citations for our students' OAPS papers. So the citing papers come from worldwide, covering 4 continents. So this helps to demonstrate that the OAPS project can help raise the visibility of the students' papers, provide students with a quality platform to share their findings with peers during their academic pursuit, and encourage citation of student papers by both scholars and their peers. The OAPS project has developed partnerships with a rising number of premier universities worldwide. So here's the list of universities. And the number of OAPS papers contributed by member libraries is on a continuous increase. During the past year, 358 papers have been collected, bringing the cumulative total to 2,295 papers, which is an increase of 18% from last year. The OAPS portal has also been established to engage partners in collaboration and to provide one-stop access to OAPS papers by all partners. Additionally, annual meetings have been held to advance collaboration and foster globalization, and eventually extend readership of the OAPS papers to the global community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Before we present the awards, we would like to invite OAPS winning students from CityU to share with us their experience and insight in writing academic papers in the following sharing sections, facilitated by Dr. Anu Vandadam, Director of Legal Information Commons of the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. May we welcome Dr. Vandadam, a student of the first sharing sections. Aulu Chi from the School of Law, John Jinmen Mao from Department of Computer Science, and Ms. Yumiko Taba from Graduate School of Economics of Waseda University.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I've really enjoyed getting to meet the 3 students. We met just about a half an hour ago, and I'm learning a little bit more about their projects. I'm going to start by briefly introducing each student, and then we'll have 3 questions for them to answer. So to my right is Jin Manmao John.
Yes.
And John, he has actually just done a really interesting project on something that's very hot right now in the United States, which is this idea of gesture recognition technology and how to get computers to be able to identify what human beings are doing in front of the computer. So we'll be learning a bit more about that in a second. And next to him is Yumiko Taba. Yumiko and I met this morning. Yumiko is she finished her master's degree in economics, and she'll be talking about some of the economic theories that she's interested in. And the third person is Auluchi, who we just met a few minutes ago, and his topic is also something that is very hot and sometimes controversial in the United States. He'll be talking about transsexual and same-sex marriages and how the legal landscape is changing. So I'm going to go ahead and ask each person to talk a little bit about their project, and then I'll have 2 questions for each student. Okay, please go ahead. So tell us a little bit about your project and what you did.
Okay. My final year project topic is real-time gesture recognition system, and it focuses to detect the fingertip and a different gesture with a webcam only. And I have created a new algorithm and improved the existing technology for the gesture recognition and to make more efficiency to detect the fingertip. That is my purpose of my final year project.
Great. One thing John mentioned is that some of the applications of this could be that somebody would be able to control a computer just with their fingers through a webcam. So.
Yes.
Okay. Yumiko, would you tell us a little bit more about your paper, please?
My topic is the issue of the finance resources for protection of producer or consumer support in the agricultural sector. In particular, I'm examining these protections by using trade policies such as import tariffs or export subsidies, and trade management of state trading enterprises. But the reason I'm interested in this topic is free trade agreement like TPP, as you know, is becoming popular, but the sector, agricultural sector is big problem in engaging agreements. So that's why I choose this topic.
Thanks, Yumiko. Elsie, would you tell us a little bit more about your paper?
Good evening. My paper is about transactional marriage, same-sex marriage, and civil union in Hong Kong, in which I start to my paper because I studied a course in about sexuality and law back in my bachelor. So in the paper, I examined a very recent judgment of W in Hong Kong, which was decided about a year ago, on whether transactional marriage should be allowed at that case. So from that point, I expand my research areas into same-sex marriage and civil partnership. And I look into different countries, different jurisdictions as to whether it is possible. So my conclusion of that paper is that it may not be acceptable, morally speaking, in Hong Kong right at this stage, but we are legally bound to allow it happen. And that's what my paper about.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to ask each student to talk a little bit about what they found to be challenging as they went through the process of taking on these pretty ambitious research projects and how they handled the challenges that they faced. So John, if you don't mind starting, tell us, what did you find difficult and how did you manage to make it through those difficulties?
Okay, to design a final year project topic is the most challenging in my final year because you need to find out which field you have interest. If you do an interested topic, then you will feel painful in the whole year. And the first step, I would focus on exactly one field that I have interest, and then to pick up a list of topics that I'm interested, and then I will do a lot of research on it as soon as possible because you need to estimate which kind of topic you can handle it. Mm-hmm. And then to ask more people, for example, your supervisor, and then you will get an insight of your topic. Thank you.
So it sounds like the process of choosing your topic was something that took some time for you.
Yes.
Did you change your mind? Did you, to build on the comments we just heard earlier, did you find that your interest changed over time?
Yes, sir. I've changed 2 times.
Okay. So that should be useful to keep in mind, that people succeed even after changing their mind a few times. I've certainly done enough of that. Yumiko, will you tell us what you found challenging and how you handled those challenges?
Okay. Firstly, when I analyzed the problem in society, it was difficult for me to determine what analytical tools should I use in economics. To overcome this problem, I first went through previous studies, and I went back to textbook, and found most easy to understand way.
So much of it was the literature review and
Yes,
looking
yes.
through the work of others.
Yes, I think so.
How did you, did anyone help you in that process? How did you negotiate that process of finding what others had done before you?
Yes, my advisor and colleagues in my same seminar, so I gave suggestions. So I considered the program, reconsidered the program. Yes.
Thank you. Elsie, can you talk about what you found challenging in your research process?
In my research, there are three main problems. The first problem was because the marriage law in not only Hong Kong but different parts of the world has existed so long that some of the laws or some of the research that you have to conduct has to date back, for example, in the 1700 or the 1800, in which hardly any records you can find in any form. In particular, in Hong Kong, the marriage law stems from 1870 something. So you have to look how the marriage law evolved in order to write a good research paper. But then it's really difficult. So what I have to do is I have to look into other papers in order to look for the source, in which I found that the source indeed did not exist at all. So some of them did not exist at this stage. So how I verify what I found is a problem. Another problem is you have to look into the meaning of the, because from a very legal perspective, we play with wordings. So you have to look into the ordinary meaning of every single word. We have to go back to the in French is the travaux préparatoire. In English is the preparatory work of every legislation to decide what is the meaning, what's the legislative intention behind every single wordings. So that's another problem. Where do you find all these interpretation? And the last difficulty was quality time. To write a good paper, I won't say mine is good, but I think it's okay. Because I haven't spent so much time in writing a paper. Usually when I do my homework, it was only 3 or 4 days before the deadline. But this paper, I think I spent, it was a year, so I almost spent some quality time within a year. It's not about time, but a quality time. So as a law student would be very difficult because we have too much work. We are overloaded. And at the same time, I was running a small business outside. So the quality time would be very difficult for me. But still, I somehow strike the balance. So that would be another difficulty for me to overcome.
I think one thing that I've found very interesting meeting the 6 students that are here today is the variety of topics and the variety of types of resources that you've had to work with. John's topic is very much cutting edge and new, and Elsie has had to go back into the archives and find ancient materials and look at them all over again. So I think it's wonderful to see all the variety of topics that you've taken. I'm going to wind up this discussion. The last question I'm going to ask you is, what advice would you give to other students who might want to follow in your footsteps and produce an OAPS paper for next year? So if you wouldn't mind, John, giving advice to the next generation.
That's my pleasure. My suggestion is don't copy the other papers. Because when you're doing your research, you will get a lot of materials, and maybe you give you some more insight. But try to don't copy the others. And try to make your topic be different from the others, and then don't overestimate yourself, because everyone has their strength, and you need to identify which one is your interest and your strength point or technique, even your characteristic. That is helpful.
So understanding yourself. Great, thank you. Yumiko, how about you? What advice would you give?
Yes, okay. And work hard first and to find the problem in society.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to the next generation to the give the suggestion or the suggestions to into the society or the government. Yes.
So to find a problem that the society needs to solve, in a sense, to find something of value. Great, thank you. How about you, Elsie? Any advice for future students?
My advice is not to write on or do research on any topics that came in existence prehistory. Because it's really difficult for you to do research, and you can find out that indeed what really comes at the end of the day is you making up your own story when you write your research paper on that. But aside from that, it's quality time. That really matters. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad we were able to learn from you today. And congratulations to all three of you, and wish you the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. And now we have the second sections of sharing. Maybe now invite our group of students, Emily Chen Si Man from the Department of Applied Social Science, Terence Jung Chun Kit from the Department of Economics and Finance, and Bruce Lee U5 from College of Business.
So I'm very happy to welcome our second group of students. I didn't get a chance to talk much with Emily ahead of time, so I look forward to getting to know you during this session. So again, I'm going to start with just some brief biographical information about each person, and then I'm going to ask each person to talk a little bit about their project so you get a sense of what their paper was about. And I'm going to start with Terence. Terence is actually an undergraduate student. He's about to graduate, and he's done a really interesting project, and I'm going to ask his advice in investing my money. That is just a hint of what he's going to be talking about. His project has to do with finance. Emily, I've just read the description of your project that has to do with the elderly and anxiety, and I look forward to learning some more about it. Emily has finished psychology here at City University, and our third presenter today is Bruce, who is just finished his master's, his MBA, and his master's in information services management, and he'll be talking about ways to improve the way that our information technology can serve us better. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Terence, will you tell us a little bit about your project and your paper, please?
Sure. My paper is an equity research report. This is a project for an inter-university investment competition, and our team analyzed the stock price of a Hong Kong listed company, and we conducted the industry research and the company, and then we mapped the investor relations of the company and performed security evaluation, and finally we gave an investment recommendation. And our paper has been awarded the second one in Hong Kong among 8 universities. Yeah.
So one of the things that he had mentioned earlier is that they were able to identify a particular stock and recommend it, and a few months later there was a 40% increase in the value of that stock, which is why I'm planning to ask for financial advice. So,
Yeah, sure.
Emily, would you please tell us a little bit more about your paper?
Yeah, sure. My paper is about the time perspective and the death anxiety among the older adults in Hong Kong. And in particular, I'm just want to examine how the time perspective can act as an emotional regulation process in helping the elderly to cope with their death anxiety. And I found that older adults tend to adjust their time orientation, such as become more positive and to cope with their death anxiety.
So were you surprised by that aspect?
Yes, maybe because some elderly will tend to think some negative things in their past, but the result is quite interesting because they tend to focus on the positive sides.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Would you tell us a little bit more about your paper?
Yeah, sure. So my project is the analysis between the ITIL, the best practice for IT service management, and the relationship between the customer satisfaction. Because nowadays in IT service, we are encourage the company to make use of ITIL to improve the service quality. And I would like to do an analysis for my MBA project to see whether the introductions of ITIL is really benefit to our customer, and how is the relationship between the introduction of service management and the customer satisfaction.
So what kinds of things did you find?
Yeah, I found that the result is positive. The introductions of ITIL, or we call it service management, will increase the customer satisfaction. Yeah.
So you found this is something you will recommend to other industries to take this on?
Yes, and for ITIL, it is not only for IT industry. It applies to all industry as long as they are using IT services.
So one of the things I found interesting about this group of papers is the types of techniques the students used were so different. So Terrence talked about analyzing the stocks and staying up very late and being here until the library closed. Emily talked in her write-up about how difficult it was to be able to interview the elderly and to have them talk with her. And Bruce talked about the process of collecting the survey data that formed the basis of his paper. So if I could ask each person to talk about the challenges and how you went through managing through those challenges to succeed and have your paper be selected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. I think there are two major challenges in our research. They are the time constraint and the information selection process. For the time constraint, since we have only about less than 2 months in preparing a research report as well as the presentation, we have to deal with large amount of information and collect different data. So the schedule is actually very tight. So to overcome this problem, as mentioned by you, we have endured a very long working hour, and we always stayed until the close of the library, let's say 1 a.m. And as for the second problem, is the information overload issue. Since we have different information, like the public available information, the data from the company reports or from our professional mentor, and sometimes we find that the versions of the facts or the information are not the same. So this could affect our analysis. And to solve this problem, we try to make our own judgment to evaluate the reliability of the information. And this is my two major challenges in this research.
And I think that general idea of being able to assess and evaluate the information you find is going to be true regardless of the topic and the type of methodology. You will always have to kind of critically reflect on what you collect to make sure it makes sense to you. Emily, can you talk a little bit about the challenges you faced in your paper?
Yeah, sure. I think the most difficult things is doing the data collection because, because it's in my project involves some death issue that you need to get the ethical approval first before I can do my data collection part. So it kind of delays my schedule. And I start my work at January, and unluckily because it's very close to the Chinese Lunar New Year, and the elderly is very sensitive to the deaf issue. So it's quite hard for me to interview those older adults, and the elderly center is not very welcome for me to do so. So I think the most difficult part is during the data collection. Mm-hmm. And I solve it in different ways. For example, I go to CityU canteen in the early morning to see whether there is any older adults to have their breakfast in the CityU canteen. And I've tried to go to the park, and even I asked my department head, Professor Guan, to be one of my research participants. And I also contacted around 40 community centers before I can finish my data collection part. Yeah.
I think for the social science research, especially if you're doing anything current, simply getting data can be a huge accomplishment, but then people will use your data for years to come. So you may be happily surprised that all your work will pay off and people will be able to quote the comments that you've collected. Thank you. Bruce, will you tell us a little bit about the difficulties you faced?
Okay, I think I have two difficulties for my MBA project. The first one is the data collection and the analysis, and the second one is the time constraint. For the data collection, there is a requirement for the MBA project. We need the support from our employer, and we need to find a real business case from your company and provide some solutions. So that is quite difficult because I don't think my company will sponsor me the data and allow me the access, because I am working in a multinational IT service company, and some of the information is quite sensitive and it is not able to distribute to others. And honestly, I'm not in a very high position in my company, so I don't think I have the chance to collect those data. But I'm very lucky that my manager is very supportive, and he allowed me to collect some of the sensitive data and do the analysis. Of course, I'm not allowed to disclose all the data and the sensitive information. And I have another challenge from my supervisor, because he asked me to do the analysis for all of my company clients in the North Asia regions. There is around 84 accounts from North Asia in my company. And in the daytime, my boss just asked me to do 10 to 20 accounts and do a deep analysis. So it is a big challenge for me to do all the analysis within 6 to 7 months of time. So that is the first challenge. And how can I overcome these challenges? I think I have the benefit because I'm a part-time student. I am working full-time in my company, and if my work is related to my MBA project, so I can leverage my time. That means when I'm doing my daily job, actually I'm doing some or part of my work for my MBA project. And the second problems or difficulty I have is the time constraint. Because as I mentioned, I am a part-time student. I have a full-time job, and I have a regular course for my MBA program. And also for MBA program, we need to go to China for 10 days. There's a residential trip. And I also enrolled another exchange trip to UC Berkeley for half a month. And I have some business trip offered by my manager. So I have very limited of time to do my MBA project. So I'm just like Terence. I work in CityU Library after I off from my office from 7 to 11 p.m. and then I back to my home and work until 2 a.m. in the midnight. And it lasts for around 2 months of time. But it's challenging, but I enjoy it because on one side I can help for advance for my career, and then I can compete for my MBA project.
So I think we are hearing loud and clear that good research takes a lot of time, sometimes in the night and sometimes in the early morning. You need to catch people at the right moment. I guess if you could tell us a little bit in terms of any advice you would give. It sounds clear that management of time and management of project deadlines is a big part of research for all three of you. But any particular advice you would give to students who might be interested in submitting a paper for next year? John?
Yes. I think any kind of research is very tough. But I think it's important for you to proofread your work, let's say 100 times before a good production comes out. So I think it's important for students to really look at what they have written down on the research word by word and objectively as well. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Emily, how about you?
Yeah. I would say if you want an easy life in your university, just don't do a topic that involves the ethical approval, because it's really, really difficult to pass it. But in the process, I've learned a lot, and it's quite fulfilling and meaningful. And so I would say if you want to challenge yourself, and you can do the difficult topic, and you get much more than you expect. And I think a research or a paper costs you lots of time and effort. So why don't you just do something you really like and enjoy? And otherwise you will feel exhausted or burn out easily, and you don't have the motivation to go on. Yeah.
I think the passion comes through from all of you, how much you care about these topics that you have been studying.
My advice is, because I'm a part-time student and I'm studying a top program, so my advice is, even though that is an academic paper, and I would say it should be practical. Even though you are doing a lot of research, but if the result is not practical, so no people will be really interested. And I also have another suggestion is if the student is working, their work is related to their study, it will be a win-win situation, because they can leverage their time, leverage the resources, and leverage the result both from academic and from their job.
Thank you to all three of you. Congratulations on your excellent papers, and wish you the best.
Thanks very much to Dr. Anu and our fellow student for sharing with us the valuable advice and the very experience. Now we come to the sections for the certificate awarding. And we now invite Associate Dean of College of Business, Professor Kelvin Yao, to present certificate to the foreign student. Bruce Lee Yu Fai. Colleagues from CB can also join the group photo. Thank you. Professor Kwan, maybe we have another student who just arrived. Sorry. And we have Chen Wing Si. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Professor Yao. Thank you very much. And now may we invite Dr. Fred Kwan, Associate Head of Department of Economics and Finance, to present certificate to the foreign students. Dr. Kwan, please. Ever Ge Chen Lu. Please maybe stand. Congratulations. And Terence Zhang Chun Kit. Colleagues from EF can also come forward to the stage for photo. Thank you very much. And now may we have Dr. Yulin Fang of Department of Information System to present certificate to the foreign student. Dr. Fang, please. Which is a large group of students, actually. The first one is Doris Kwok Yi Man. The second one is Marvis Yao Xuejie. And then Liu Shuo. And then Bi Jinjie. May the first group of students have a group photo with your supervisor together. These 4 students, they complete the paper together. Thank you very much. And we have the second group of students from IS. The first one is Ruby Yang Yuan. The second one is Bob Ma Long. 马龙没有在，不在，好，没有问题。好 ，the third one is Judy Wang Hui. And then Jason Jin Xin. And then Rocky Wei Rong. And then Sam Hao Shuai. Will please come together and have a group photo? Your certificates. Congratulations. And we have Li Fei, Michelle Li Fei. Thank you, Dr. Fang. Thank you. And congratulations to all IS students. Okay. Now may we invite Professor Alex Guan, Head of Department of Applied Social Studies, to present certificate to the foreign students. The first one is Chen Wei Yin. Congratulations. Okay. And the second one is Calvin Chan Man Lock. And Emily Chen Si Man. And then Franco Fok Ho Nam. And then Kathy Hong On Ying. Congratulations, and thank you, Professor Guan. May we now have Dr. Stephen Altman from Department of Asian and International Studies to present certificate to the foreign student. Dr. Altman, thank you. Jennifer Ho Wen Yi. Congratulations, and thank you, Dr. Altman. Thank you very much. May we now have Mr. Matthew Learn, Acting Head of Department of Chinese Translation and Linguistics, to present certificate to foreign students. Han Xiaoyu. Congratulations. And 未開鏡頭。Thank you. And Wang Xingyi. Wang Xingyi. Yes. Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Lang. Thank you very much. And may we now have Dr. Raymond Wong from Department of Computer Science to present certificate to the foreign student. Dr. Wong, please. Edmund Hong Yuk Man. Okay. Thank you. Oh. And Jin Men Mao. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then we now have Professor Tommy Chow of Department of Electronics Engineering to present certificate to the foreign students. Thank you. Try a little bit nervous. Try Zongqing. Thank you. And the second one is one more student, Che Hu Yang. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now we come to the last group of students. May we have Professor Anton Curry, Associate Dean of School of Law, to present certificate to the foreign students. Hi. Oh Lu Chi. Congratulations. One more. Perfect. Thank you, Professor Curry. Thank you very much. Honorable guests, we have come to the end of the ceremony. Congratulations to all the students. Let's once again congratulate the students for their achievements and thank the guests for sharing. The award-winning papers are now on display in the Oval area, and all faculty members and their students are welcome to visit the book display area, and a photographer will take group photo for each department. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.